Alright folks, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to win at Kravtsovka, which is the first land battle that you're going to do in the Bear vs. Dragon campaign. It's one of the easiest battles in probably the entire campaign, so this isn't exactly rocket science, but I'm going to play through it and show you some pointers. Now before we go into that, I'm going to show you the campaign map, so here we go. So here we are looking at that campaign map. I just won the battle in the naval sector right outside of Vladivostok. But before I move into Vladivostok, I have to win in Kravtsovka. So I've moved the units that I start the campaign off with into Kravtsovka, and this is important. I had to wait until my tanks were ready, because if you look at the initiative on the tanks, if they don't have any initiative remaining, that means they're not going to participate in the battle. So some units can move and fight on the same turn, but like tanks, you have to move them and then wait for them to actually get to the battle. So you have to be careful when you're setting up the battle. And then of course, before the battle starts, I always go in and I look at what kind of units that the enemy has, right? So they have a fighter squadron, they have the border regiment, which has very low-level infantry, and then they have an anti-tank unit. So the kind of thing that I'm taking away from this is, one, what kind of airplanes do they have? Because that drives how much I'm going to employ anti-air capabilities in my own units as I'm moving and setting up my units. So I can see that they only have fighters. So unless I'm going to be trying to deploy bombers, that doesn't really affect me, right? So you're going to see how that plays out when I'm placing my units. But now we're going to move into the battle. Alright, and here we are at the actual battle. So I skipped the part where I put down all my units, because I figured you didn't want to watch that. But what I've mostly done is use tank, a very few amount of infantry, and I've put 2 command units in my command sector so that I don't have to worry about the enemy getting lucky, destroying one of my units, then me suffering a major defeat or a total defeat. So yeah, so what I'm going to start doing is I'm dismounting my guys, and I'm going to move my tanks into this line of trees right to the east of my base sector. Because as you can see, the map is very open. There are a few urban areas, but they're not going to help me do what I need to do here, which is I need to destroy enough enemy that I can get them to 0 on destruction points. Maybe capture some sectors so that I can either have a good starting position in the next game if I don't get a major victory that causes the enemy to retreat. And it also, capturing sectors helps get my command point income up. And then the last thing I need to do is, well, preserve my units so that I can use them later in the campaign. And I guess that's it. So I'm moving my guys in now, and you can see there's some enemy coming in from the north. So I'm going to set up my tanks in a concealed position so that they can fire from a position of concealment. And now the brutality begins. So the enemy starts bringing their BRDMs directly through the center of 2 of my units. 2 of my tank units. And they just start getting balled up immediately. Now, I don't know how friendly fire works in Wargame Red Dragon. I would say it's probably not a good idea for any budding military tacticians out there who are watching this to either to set up an ambush on 2 sides of a road and fire towards each other, or from the enemy's perspective to drive right through the middle of an enemy position. But I was concealed, so I guess they didn't know I was there. But anyway, so that first assault has been defeated. The thing about the enemy AI in Wargame Red Dragon is they basically always start with a mad rush for your command vehicle, which the enemy AI knows the location of, even if they don't have recon that would allow them to determine the location of your command vehicle naturally. So they're going to make a beeline for that, and once you defeat that, you can go kind of on the counter-offensive. That is not always the case. Sometimes the enemy, if they're in a weak position, they won't do that initial rush at all. But you can kind of count on that being the main way that the enemy AI fights these battles. So I'm moving my guys into position along this bridge line. Basically, it looks like it's slightly elevated, and it's a forest, so that they can attack any future rushes. Like I said, this is a very easy. This is an easy battle in the campaign because one, the enemy is there's not a lot of them. They are not very high veterancy level, and you just have a huge amount of tanks. Later on, the campaign does get more difficult, and this is my second time playing through it because the first time I totally messed it up. So I plan on doing a bunch of these campaign battles. Here we see another enemy column coming towards us and just getting completely annihilated. So I'm going to do these campaign battles, probably finish it up with a review of the entire campaign, and then I'll move on to the next thing. I've also been making a lot of multiplayer compilations, so you can see those on my channel. Hopefully people are watching this stuff because I recently saw on Reddit that Wargame Red Dragon has fallen under 1,000 daily players, which, for a video game, that is not very good. So I think it's a great game, and if you can get into it, it's a little, I guess, intimidating at first, especially the multiplayer, but it is fun. Here you can see I throw some of my infantry guys straight into the mouth, into the jaws of an enemy column, and they finally do, slow down and actually defeat my infantry. So that's bad on me, but the rest of my infantry are moving along the northern road. What happened there is I probably told them to fast move into the city, so they just chose the fastest route. So that's one of the dangers of doing that. But that column of enemy vehicles was no match for my 8 tanks that I have here, and even my air defense gun is shooting at them as well. So they are pretty rapidly destroyed. And now at this point, the enemy has like 369 destruction points remaining, so they're rapidly losing. Here the enemy actually does... Okay, so now they're driving in between my infantry again. We're going to get a few kills with their anti-tank weapons before they run also headlong into my tanks. And they all get destroyed. The good thing about the campaign is unless the enemy does a refit, they're going to basically have to carry these casualties all throughout the campaign, meaning, they're not going to just automatically regenerate into their battle groups unless the enemy AI makes the deliberate choice to refit their units. So now I got my infantry guys. They're just occupying the center position. At this point, enemy has less than 200 destruction points remaining. Of course, they send another frontal attack against tank positions. Let me see how that goes for them. Just bops them basically instantly. And yeah, they're running out of command points. At this point, I decide to try and go into their base sectors with my tanks to see if I can take out some command vehicles so that they don't have those for the rest of the campaign. Because the fewer command vehicles they have, the stronger my position is. But this final BTR column is going to... they're going to die and give up all their destruction points before I can do that. Yeah, so you always have to be careful about driving armored vehicles straight within range of infantry that are in buildings because they have anti-tank vehicles, and depending on the damage output of their weapons, the dismounts inside may or may not survive, but still then you lose all the weapons that are associated with that vehicle. And that's it. So you can see how many guys my units killed. It's quite extensive. I didn't completely destroy any of their units, but I did get a total victory, and the enemy is going to have to retreat from this area. And then I lost not a lot of guys. As I scroll down, you can see I lost about, I think, 8 units. So there you have it. So that's the first land battle, which is the Battle of Kravtsovka. So I'm going to keep playing through, and you're going to see some more battles. But until next time, this has been Rage Quit with Travis, and I will see you later.